Hi everybody, and welcome to the first episode of On Brand, a series where we'll be speaking to leaders across Dentsu Aegis Network and the industry, talking about how to build brands in today's digital economy. Today we're talking about branded entertainment and how brands can get involved in what many are calling the golden era of entertainment. I'm really excited to be joined today by Cathy Boxall. Thank you, Cathy, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Cathy is from the Story Lab and heads up the global brand entertainment team. She works on devising and producing market-leading entertainment properties for global clients, has 20 years experience working in the entertainment industry, previously working at NBC Universal, as well as the Walt Disney Company, working with the likes of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilms. I mean, I'm feeling very starry-eyed, but I don't think there's anyone more qualified or more experienced than Cathy to join us to talk to us about this topic today. So thank you. And I'm hoping you're enjoying our Hollywood setup. We've got clapperboards and everything.
I am. I feel very at home.
Look at all the glamour. So just to kick things off, I figured we'd just talk a little bit about the Story Lab and what you guys actually do.
Yes, absolutely. So the Story Lab is essentially Dentsu Aegis Network's entertainment company. So we work with best-in-class producers, creators to fund, to develop and to distribute entertainment formats, scripted dramas, feature films, anything in that way that will attract an audience. Essentially, we are one team, but we do have two sides to our business. So on the one side, we focus on brands and brand clients. So that's what my team does. We essentially act as a sort of entertainment consultancy for brand clients. We help them to develop, to executive produce, and to distribute original entertainment formats around the brands. And then the other side of our business is more focused around producers. And on that side, we're looking to invest in the development of original shows, all new original shows and formats, and also to distribute existing shows, formats, and intellectual properties. So most famously, I think, within the network, that's Ninja Warrior. And that's been a huge success for the company. It's already in over 12 international markets. But more recently, great successes like Game of Clones, which won the Best New International Format at MIP TV this year. We're working with we work with a high level of kind of really exciting producers and creative talents to kind of come up with these amazing shows. And I think that's what that gives us our USP, really. It's about having this access to amazing talent from both sides of the business, from the brand side and from the producers and production side. And this access comes mainly because we invest. So we do invest in people, and we have an amazing team, fantastic teams with really broad entertainment expertise, really varied experience and backgrounds. So, we have people who come from format sales, format distribution, development, production backgrounds. We have people from Endemol, from Fremantle, from BBC Worldwide, from Netflix.
Wow.
It is a really, really broad range of expertise there. So we've invested in people. We also invest our own money. We have an investment fund, which helps us to kind of de-risk investments for our partners, whether that's brands or whether that's our production partners. And also, as I said, we're part of Dentsu. So we are able to tap into all that fantastic, 30 years or more of entertainment knowledge, experience in talent, in entertainment rights, in merchandising, in licensing, I mean, you name it. It is a really, really broad range of expertise within the team. And I think that's what gives us our really big USP. It's that access to all of that.
Yeah, brilliant. And I mean, obviously, you're perfectly positioned within a global collaborative network.
Exactly.
So it's really exciting that you guys are within Dentsu Aegis Network. And so just for kind of a lot of people watching who might be going, branded entertainment, what's the difference between branded entertainment and branded content? How has it evolved from content? Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's quite a facetious, annoying answer. But I would say that the difference with brand entertainment is ultimately that it is entertaining.
Yeah.
So really it's got to be something, it doesn't matter that it comes from a brand per se, but it does have to be entertaining enough that an audience is going to search it out and make time to engage with it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think, in that case, we're not talking about an extended ad. Or something that's a bit longer than your usual kind of 30-second TVC, or maybe has a bit less of a sales message in it. It is actually something that is actively entertaining. And I think the other thing that's quite different about brand entertainment is it is more of a long-term play. So, the brand benefit is that if you do it right and you make something that is genuinely entertaining, you are going to be able to build and grow an audience over time. And we've had some fantastic examples of that from across our local markets, where we've created these kind of ad-funded programs and properties for brands that have gone into second series, third series, and able to grow that audience as they go along. So, for example, we did one in Spain recently for Arla, who are obviously a Scandinavian brand and who wanted to talk about their heritage, the heritage of the brand in the Spanish market. So we created a show that was all around this idea of hugger, which I think is how you say it.
I say higger, but I don't know.
I don't know. And you probably
Does
say it
anyone
very
know?
differently in Spanish.
Okay.
But yeah, it's based around this idea of hugger. They created it with a local broadcaster, La Sexta. And it was a show where local talent, Spanish talent, travelled to Denmark and went around learning about this idea of hygge and doing kind of fun challenges. That was recommissioned not only once, but twice. And they kind of started to refine the format as they went along and changed it as they went. But I think it's a really good example of how, you start off with one idea and you're able to kind of start to build that audience for that content, build the demand from the broadcaster and from the kind of watching public as you go along. So that was a great one. Another one that we've done recently in Italy is a property called Bartendency, which we created for a brand called Molinari, who are a local drinks brand, a spirit brand in Italy. They wanted to encourage people to have more drinking occasions with the brand. So to create cocktails, to treat it more as a long drink. So they created this show along with Fox, where essentially it was a bit like an X Factor for bartenders. So they had all the competitions going through with different challenges, and the guys had to make cocktails and do challenges all using Molinari's products. The great thing about that is they did, the first series did very well on Fox, but by the time they got to the second series, they'd increased their audience by almost 50%. It was a 46% increase in audience from the first series to the second series. So again, it kind of goes to show, if you get it right, the audience will seek it out and then they will keep coming back, and you can grow that audience over time, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah.
And the third thing I think about what makes brand entertainment sort of more special is if you're able to get both of those things right, so you've got something that's really entertaining, you're also able to grow something over time, is you've then got potential to start monetizing your investment to some degree, or at least to be offsetting some of your costs through monetization. So, that could be from getting the content commissioned and actually having some of the production costs offset, or it could be, further down the line, getting paid for integrations from brands or sponsors. It could be a licensing program. The world is kind of open, provided that the content is kind of keeping on and creating that audience. And we did something similar actually on a global level with one of our clients a couple of years ago, Mondelez, for a brand of theirs, Stride, a chewing gum in the US. And the format, the idea was a show called Heaven Sent Jump. It was a live, never do live, that's what I always say, as you can tell. It was a live stunt with a guy, Luke Aikins, jumping out of a plane at commercial airliner height and dropping into a net with no parachute.
I think I saw this actually. It was insane.
It was quite something. It really was quite something. But it was a really lovely piece. It was very effective from a brand perspective. They got over 12 million views of the content. It was, really, really great from a brand perspective. But they were also able to monetize, in small ways. They did some revenue shares with Fox across Nat Geo and Fox, where they showed the documentary as well. We, as the Story Lab, were able to get that commissioned externally in the international markets as well. So it ran in China and was commissioned, and they were able to see some return from that as well. I think, when it comes together, if you get it right, really strong, really entertaining, you've got the longevity, and then you've also got potential to make some money back off your investment.
Yeah, and I guess you have to be the sort of brand that really believes in long-term brand building ROI.
Definitely.
To get involved.
You can do it in a short-term way, and there are obviously ways to work in all sorts of different ways with brand entertainment, but the best results are if you really take that kind of long-term view in the same way that the entertainment industry does.
Yeah, of course.
It's a long-term return.
Yeah, of course. So obviously the world of brand entertainment has changed enormously in the last 10 years, with the emergence of Netflix and on-demand TV. How has branded entertainment changed?
That's it. I think that's the key. It is the entertainment industry as a whole has really changed, kind of beyond all recognition, especially over the last 5 years. And the main thing that's driving that is this proliferation of channels. There's all these different kind of opportunities and platforms for people to consume entertainment content. And I think, you know, what we're seeing now is because the audience are so much less channel loyal, you know, people barely remember what channels they're watching any of this content on. It means that there is this potential to kind of drag these huge audiences across platforms. If you've got the right property and the right talent, you can pull a huge audience with you across different platforms. And I think a really good example of this, and it's quite zeitgeisty given what's gone on yesterday, is Bake Off. You know, and there was a huge fuss around Bake Off when it moved from BBC, and everybody was up in arms. But actually, 9 million people moved with it to Channel 4. I mean, you know, does anyone care at the end of the day? Probably not. So, you know, I think, you know, the broadcasters and the platforms are aware of this. They do see this ability to kind of, if they get it right, they can pull these huge audiences in. And this is what is leading to this golden age of entertainment that you were talking about, or peak TV as well, as we're also calling it. You know, it's become this incredible kind of hunger around the industry for new content. And we see, you know, platforms like Netflix, you mentioned, spending $8 billion this year just on the development of acquisition and development of original shows.
Yeah, not massively surprising. It's like a new show every day.
It's crazy. It is crazy, but it's becoming like an arms race between all of them. You know, the stakes are really, really high, and there is an awful lot of money flying around. And it's great, you know, from our perspective, because there is this huge hunger for original content. It's a massive, massive opportunity. And for brands who want to work in that space as well. And I think one of the other things that's changing quite a lot is the consumer are able now to curate their experience in a bit of a different way and curate their viewing experience. So, you know, you've got multiple screens, you've got multiple different ways and times of day that you can kind of consume entertainment. And you're much more in control of that personally. And again, though, that is still, from our perspective, that's still quite a good thing. You know, we're seeing, even though people are able to control this experience, actually you're not seeing the level of cannibalization that we thought. We're actually seeing that the more opportunities you give people to consume entertainment content, the more they will actually do it, and the more they will make time in their day to do it, which is fantastic. We saw a study in the US last year. I think on average since 2015, so over the last 3 years, the amount of time that people are spending on average consuming content has gone up by over a minute and a half. It's 1 minute and 38 seconds, I think, on average per day.
On average.
Over the last 3 years. Yeah. So that's really exciting. Again, it's all a big opportunity. I think the bad news, if you're a brand marketeer, is that obviously all these platforms are not particularly advertising friendly. So, you know, we all know there's challenges with ad blocking and ad skipping, and some of these platforms that we've mentioned don't even take traditional advertising. So, you know, as a brand, if you want to get yourself associated with these incredibly exciting big entertainment properties, you can't do it in the traditional way of just buying advertising around it. You have to be more creative. You have to find a more interesting way in. So, from our perspective, you know, that's kind of where we see ourselves. There's a huge range of opportunities. It could be quite far down the process. So it could be when you've got a finished property or a finished show. You could do, you know, something off platform like Topshop did with Netflix with Stranger Things exactly this time last year at Halloween, doing all the taking all the sets from the show and putting them in their windows. It's fantastic. You know, really leveraging that excitement around the new series. You could do something more around sort of licensing and retail. So we saw our client Diageo, Johnny Walker, did a fantastic partnership with Game of Thrones very recently, about last month, you know, creating the White Walker whiskey. It's really cool, like, you know, really nice way to bring the property to life. But you can also start to kind of move upstream and kind of further back in the process. And, you know, whether it's product placement, whether it's integrations, whether it's co-creation of original shows, you know, digital shows or broadcast shows, even, you know, complete origination of totally new IPs. I think that's where there's a really exciting opportunity for brand clients. And actually, really, that's why the Story Lab exists. Right. We are here to help our brand clients to navigate through this quite complex range of different opportunities, none of which is right or wrong. You know, we find the right way for them, and then we help them to bring those projects to life.
And the Story Lab help right from kind of downstream right through to upstream.
Absolutely, right across the whole gamut, and we're there from start to finish. You know, this is why we sort of describe ourselves as a consultancy, because we're here to help with the strategy, but we're also here to help with the activation and bringing it all to life.
Making sure the brands are actually using the right format.
Making it happen. Yep.
So you obviously work with a lot of global clients, and it's proven very successful for you guys. What are the results that you guys see, and how do you measure success?
I think It's interesting because we talk a lot about engagement. When you talk about brand entertainment, we're always talking about engagement, and that is something that is a huge part of what we measure, and it is about engagement ultimately. But then we do see that we can affect some quite interesting other brand metrics. I was thinking we did one recently, a partnership recently for Indesit, who are a Visium client here, and we worked across 5 markets. We created one single IP, and the idea was it was called the Big Family Switch Up. That's the name of the property. It was a really sweet idea around, you know, mums do too much in the home. How can we take the burden off mum a bit? Everybody has a go at doing the chores. We selected 5 local families, 5 local presenters, kind of famous mums, and just kind of had a bit of fun with this idea of mixing up people doing chores. And actually it worked really well. The brand awareness for Indesit across all of these markets was up by 8%, just purely due to the campaign that we ran, which was amazing. You know, not something we were expecting particularly. Also, I think it's quite interesting, you know, sales metrics and kind of looking at, you know, purchase intent. Again, that wasn't something that we were particularly KPI'd on that project. But again, we saw purchase intent going up by 7% just as a direct result of that show that we created. So I think purchase intent and sales is something that we don't talk about that much, but actually we've got some really strong results in that area. And we have an example again in Australia. The team there developed an amazing show called VCTV. It was created with Facebook Live for a brand called Vodka Cruiser, who are a pre-mixed, I think this is what we call them, a pre-mixed drink, which I'm making myself sound really ancient, but in my day would have probably been called an Alco Pop.
Oh, yeah, Alco Pops. Yeah, that's how I know them.
Yep, Alco Pops. No, pre-mixed drinks. So they created a show for them. They basically had a bit of a challenge, clearly, around speaking to millennials. So we created a show for them using some really cool local talent. It's an influencer group of comedians called Sketchy. And we had them create this sort of episodic show with Facebook Live where they talked about things that are kind of interesting to that audience. So it was, you know, things at the heart of culture like music and travel and fashion. And it was all integrated with the product. And again, they saw amazing sales results. So as a result of doing this piece in the first series, they saw a 9% uplift in sales, which was way above what anybody was expecting. Second series, and again, this is another one that was commissioned again because it was so successful. Second series, 13% uplift in sales. So again, you know, it's not something that we're making big promises about, but you do get to see sometimes we're actually affecting kind of, you know, brand ROI and sales.
Yeah, it's a pretty robust kind of looking at the ROI across brand engagement, sales. I mean, yeah, it's all about long-term brand building, though, isn't it?
It is very long-term, and I think I keep going on about this, but we do have so many examples where when it's done right, you're then developing an audience, the broadcasters and the platforms are then coming to you because they want to have this content because they're seeing the effect that it's having.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very, very strong. It's in a great long-term case studies.
Awesome. And what do you think makes the Story Lab different then? Obviously, you sit within a group of agencies that do all sorts of things at Dentsu Regis Network. What makes the Story Lab different?
I think, and what gives us stand out from within here, but also I think from within kind of externally with the other sort of agencies that we work with, I think what makes us different primarily is the access. And I know I've talked about this before, but it is about the access that we bring to our team, to all those expertise, you know, to all these kind of industry experts. We open all of that up to our brand clients, which I think is quite unusual. It's also the sort of industry insights. I mean, again, these teams are out talking all the time to commissioners, to producers, to creative talent. And I think, you know, those insights, again, we are able to bring to bear for our brand clients. So, you know, when the team are out at MIPCOM talking to, which they were a couple of weeks ago, talking to producers or commissioners and finding out what is being made and what is kind of being commissioned right now, then we know in 18 months' time, those are the shows that are going to be on TV. And that's great intel to be able to take to our brand clients and to be able to get them to create the right kind of shows for the audience. Yeah. And also, I think the access, we open up this access for our brand clients to our network. So we have a network of producers and creatives that we work with. And again, you know, these are really creative guys sitting on amazing ideas and stories. And we can open all of this up for brands to be able to tap into and create into brand entertainment. So I think access is really, really key. I think the other thing is distribution. because of where we sit and we are here within the network, distribution is a really, really key part of everything we do. So we never create an entertainment project in a vacuum. It's always about the audience. It's always about the platform. It's making sure that wherever we go, whatever we do with our content, it is in the place where our audience are going to consume it and give it the best chance of being seen. So we're working with, again, best-in-class producers who have a track record of speaking to that audience, and platforms where we know it's going to get seen. So that's a really key part of our offer.
Truly audience first.
Very audience first approach, yeah. And then we have, I think the last thing that's a big strength is our global network. So as the Story Lab, we have more than 200 kind of entertainment professionals across 24 markets currently, all as kind of standalone Story Lab offices. And I think our approach is basically, it's all about being locally relevant, but with scale and with global scale. So, if that's picking up a format in one market and selling it into other international territories, as we do with Game of Clones or Hall Pass or whatever it may be, again, it's taking it local and taking it global. If we're doing it for a brand client, again, it's about, maybe we will create like one big global intellectual property, but we will make it relevant for those local territories, and it should feel locally relevant in every single market it goes into. So, as an example, we worked with Vans, another Visium client, earlier this year on a property called The Class of 2018. And for Vans, it's all about being authentic, and they want to be authentic supporters of kind of up-and-coming talent. They're a fantastic brand to work with. We love working with them, very creative, very open. And they wanted to work with kind of up-and-coming talent across multiple different territories. So we created the one IP, which was the Class of, but then we were able to bring that to life with, I think, 35 talent, so different influencer talent across all these different markets, all talking about their passion points. We worked with Vice, who were the distribution partner, so it was all about the different passion points around sort of music and fashion and culture. And they were talking about their passion points, all dressed in the product, fantastic activation, wonderful on the ground, all in local language, all in local locations, but with a nice overarching idea. So I think those are our key things. It's the access, it's the distribution, and it's the global network.
Amazing. And I mean, it sounds very glamorous, like life at the Story Lab. I mean, it's definitely more glamorous than my life. But, talk to us a little bit about what you and your team do. Like, what does a typical day look like?
I think it's very varied, and that is actually the really nice thing always for me about working in the entertainment industry is it's so varied. I mean, we have such a wide variety of clients and different categories and industries that we work in, and we have such a wide range of projects and ideas that are coming across our desk every day. So every day is completely different, which is lovely, a bit stressful sometimes, but really, really, really lovely. But I think, again, because we are all about kind of our insights and understanding what's going on in the industry, and that is so important to us as a team, a huge amount of our time is actually spent liaising with producers, commissioners, talking to talent. And actually, talent is a really important part of kind of where we get ideas and inspiration from as well. Gleam Futures recently joined the Story Lab family, and they are digital first talent, and they've got some huge names. They've got the Zoella, they've got Tanya Burr.
I love Tanya.
Oh, they're fantastic, great names, huge audiences, really popular, but they're not just YouTube. They're not just YouTube talent. They've got their finger in a lot of pies, and they are, published authors. They've got licensed products. They've got ideas for TV shows. They are a wealth of ideas for clients and opportunities for brand entertainment projects. So we spend time with them, sort of trying to understand how we can kind of build things together and bring in clients at a really early stage. And then I think, talking of clients, that is the other side that's obviously very important. And, for us to do what we do, we do have to get under the skin of our clients. We can't, we have to understand their brand challenges. We have to understand their business challenges. So we spend all the time we can with them. Recently, we spent a very exciting day with our lovely client, Jaguar Land Rover, up at East Snore driving discoveries. Anyone who knows how much I hate driving, I really hate driving, will know how exciting that was. It was a personal fear, conquered, but we were basically driving the discoveries all over the Land Rover experience.
That sounds amazing.
It was amazing. I mean, it was driving through rivers, it was driving off cliffs, it was...
Are you over your phobia now?
Yeah, I would say there is some amazing brand entertainment around that.
We need to find that footage. Monetize.
No, that's not coming out ever. No one's seeing that. But it was really fun. And it's a great way to understand the brand, really get under the skin of it and really kind of enjoy the brand. They are amazing cars. Love them.
Yeah, amazing.
And then I think I suppose if that's a full day, I suppose there is always one thing at the end of the day. We tend to try and make time, or I certainly do, try and make time to talk to our LA office, our US team. There's quite a new team there that have come in, and they have the most amazing pedigree. They are just incredible. I mean, they come from the deepest kind of Hollywood world. You know, we've got guys there from WME, William Morris Endeavour, Netflix, again, like just incredible backgrounds, and they are working on the most exciting projects. So often maybe as an excuse, do like to try and see if we can catch up with them in the afternoons and just understand what are they working on, what's the stuff they're seeing, basically just round off the day with a bit of nice Hollywood glamour and gossip.
Isn't that the life? Isn't that the life?
It is.
So, like, you guys work on a lot of original content.
Yes.
How do you come up with all these ideas?
I think one of the things we're really lucky with the team that we have here is we are a really diverse team. So we have lots of different professional backgrounds and generally different backgrounds, lots of different age ranges within the team. So we talk to each other a lot, and we do have a thing which we do once a week, Culture Club, where everybody comes together and we just share what we're doing. What are we listening to? What are we watching? You know, podcasts, films, TV shows. What do we think is good? What do we think is bad?
It's like the funnest homework ever.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's fantastic. And it's actually just on a personal level. You just get some really good recommendations.
Yeah. You'll have to give me some after this.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. I'll put them up. I'll put them up on Facebook
Yes, please,
afterwards.
yeah.
But it's a really good way just to see what everybody else is experiencing and what they think is interesting. Also, obviously, the team, you know, professionally do know a lot about industry trends and what kind of things are coming up. So it's a constant dialogue there. And again, you know, when they've come back from places like MIP and the markets, we want to hear about kind of what are they seeing, what are the key trends. And I think, finally, again, obviously, it's out and about. So if it's talking to Gleam talent or if it's talking to producers, it's leveraging that network of partners that we work with to get these ideas. And they, you know, they come from such left field and they come up with completely new original concepts all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a huge wealth of opportunity.
Amazing. I know that we've received quite a few questions, actually, from people ahead of today's interview around what those key trends might be.
Yep.
So have you got any insights you can share with us?
Well, some of the key things that we're seeing, and the guys came back from MIP a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. So some of the things they said they were seeing, one of the big trends for next year, which we can look out for, is high concept physical game shows.
You're going to have to define that one for me.
Yeah, which in my mind is things like, and again, I think my references are a bit out of date, is things like Crystal Maze,
Love Crystal Maze,
Total Wipeout, that kind of thing, high concept. We took one to the market, which is probably about as high concept as it gets, which is Evil Monkeys, which I don't know if you've seen that
I've
around.
Seen Evil
but
Monkeys,
in fact, it's so high concept. But yeah, you probably don't get more out there than kind of a team of poor celebrities being essentially tortured through a range of bizarre challenges by a bunch of evil monkeys. But yeah, that's one to watch, definitely.
That is definitely entertainment.
And it's good to know that we're on trend, and this is definitely what everybody's after this year.
Yeah.
The other thing we're seeing is quite a lot of dating shows, and dating shows are kind of a perennial thing, but as a kind of key theme within dating shows, this kind of true or fake idea, which people are playing about a bit, and they're seeing that as a theme coming through. And again, that's a nice one for us because we actually have a great dating show on our slate called Date or Dump, which was developed by Storylab UK with Youngest Media. It originally ran on Unilad, and it's a really fun idea around basically asking each other hideously embarrassing questions. You have to guess the answers to each other's questions, and then at the end of the show, it's you have to decide whether you want to date or dump. But it's a very fun concept, and actually it has kicked off an amazing relationship now in the UK with Youngest Media, who are basically offering their services as kind of creative development and ideas development for Storylab UK clients. So anyone who isn't currently tapping into that, you really should be getting on that with the Storylab UK. Yeah. And then I think the last thing that's quite key and interesting for us is there was a proliferation of motoring shows and automotive shows coming out of the market. And that's very exciting for us because obviously within this network we have some amazing automotive clients. So I think from our perspective over the next kind of year and a half, we're going to be focusing on kind of getting onto that and seeing if we can create some cool automotive shows.
Amazing. Well, automotive clients, if you're watching, watch this space. You know, there's obviously kind of a lot of trends out there. What brands do you think are doing this particularly well? It's obviously quite hard to get it right. Is it hard to get right?
Yeah, oh no, it definitely is. It definitely is. And I think there are a few standout ones who do it beautifully. And I think over the last probably 5 years that I've been kind of working in this space more focused, I would say the one that I love and that would be my dream client is Pepsi. Because they work in a whole kind of range of different kind of branded entertainment. So, you know, from the kind of, again, the sort of finished product downstream, they do a lot of product placement. They were another one that was in Stranger Things with a really cool, like, retro can. They do kinds of placement, they do integrations. They did a kind of best in class, as far as I'm concerned, integration with Empire a few years back, where they basically had the whole show written around a Pepsi commercial. It was just wonderful. And the fact that we're still talking about it now after 2 years, it's just groundbreaking. It's wonderful. But they also take really big risks. So, you know, they're more prepared to work, as we were saying, upstream. They invest in film slates. They even create their own original movies. So, you know, they did one with their US TV character, Uncle Drew, which was out this year internationally. And I don't know that it was a massive international smash. I think it did all right in the US. But it's the fact that they're prepared to take those risks in the same way. Yeah, it's really bold. Yeah. It's risky. They treat it in the same way that anyone within the entertainment industry does. You know, you win some, you lose some. So, you know, they're willing to take that risk and they're willing to work long term. And I just love that. I think I would love to work with them.
One of my favourite branded movies is Lego Movie.
Oh, yes. So I love
good.
Lego Movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
But again, so clever to be working so upstream.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's masses of opportunity. And you are actually starting to see more of the toy brands are starting to kind of play in that space now. And we saw Mattel recently did a show in the US on ABC where it's called Toy Box. It's basically a Dragon's Den for children's toys. But essentially it was people pitching to make a new toy and the children judging it. And at the end, Mattel would make the toy.
Amazing.
But it was a really great show and it ran for 2 series on ABC. So yeah, we see a lot of that. And I think even if it's not about kind of being right up there and doing the kind of big original concepts and original shows, even working kind of further down the end, you can still be really, really creative. And we were recently, I mean, I've seen some stuff that Under Armour have been doing. And they work a lot in film. We worked with them when I was at Disney. But they've done some really cool stuff. They worked with The Martian, again, like a year or so ago. A couple of years now. But again, the partnership that they did was all based around, rather than doing a straightforward product placement and just whacking the product in there, they created a whole kind of world within the universe of The Martian, within the world of the movie, where they had like a training facility for the astronauts that was all wearing Under Armour gear. And the movie company, the film company, absolutely loved it because they were able to use it to promote the movie up front. They had all the A-list talent in it, all talking about their training program, wearing the product. And it meant for the movie company, they didn't have to keep giving away trailers and giving away bits of content. They could use that to kind of promote the film. Worked brilliantly for both parties. A really good example of it doesn't just have to be a transactional product in, you know, movie out.
Yeah.
So that's it. And I think from within our stable, you know, I'm seeing some quite interesting stuff happening from Anheuser-Busch, from ABI. So they've been doing some really fun stuff locally with getting Netflix shows, documentaries on in local markets. So I think that's kind of, from our perspective, maybe one to watch for next year. They've got some really interesting ideas.
Amazing. Gosh, it's so exciting. So obviously this is a very, very exciting area to be working in. It's thriving. There's a lot of money in it. Are there any brands that shouldn't be doing this? I know it's a controversial question.
It is quite political, controversial question. I would say, rather than who shouldn't be doing it, I suppose the only thing I can say on that is I really strongly believe, and we believe as a team, that entertainment is all about expertise and track record. And really, you need to be working with people who know what they're doing. It is a very particular set of skills and very particular expertise. So I think, yeah, if I was going to give a blanket advice, I'd say the people that should be doing it are people who really know how to do it and have a success rate in doing it well.
Amazing. And for those who don't necessarily, what would be your advice to a CMO who's like, I want to get our brand more involved in branded entertainment. That's where we need to be. What would be your advice to them?
I think if I had one piece of advice, and again, you know, we act as a consultancy and there's a whole range of different ways to approach this, but I would say if I had one piece of advice, it would be about distribution and thinking about distribution first. I think the one thing that we see more than anything in this role is clients coming to us having spent a lot of money on quite expensive content, even quite entertaining content pieces, but without having really thought through the distribution element.
Right.
And often, especially on a regional or a global level, that then ends up getting pushed onto local teams who aren't able to support it, who find it difficult to, putting paid media behind it, all of that. So I think if I was going to give one piece of advice, it would be think distribution first, think audience first, think about who your audience is, what are the key trends for that audience, what are they engaging with, what do they like, what's coming up next that's new and exciting that they would want to engage with. Find someone to work with, a production partner, a creative partner who knows what they're doing and has a track record of speaking to those audiences and creating for those audiences, and ultimately work with a platform, work with a distribution partner, whether a broadcaster or a digital platform, whatever, who is already speaking to that audience and who has that audience already and knows how to get them engaged. I think if you have all of those pieces together, you can't really go too far wrong.
Totally. Amazing advice. So you've been working at the Story Lab for a while. What have been your kind of biggest learning curves when it comes to branded entertainment?
I think the big thing for me is, again, we keep talking about this kind of from the finished product, from going upstream to the creation. I think for me, I was always much more down this end. I was always, when I was working at Disney or I was working at NBC, I was working with a finished product. And I loved working at Disney, particularly. I mean, don't get me wrong. Working with the people at Pixar, they are creative geniuses. I absolutely loved it. Yeah. But we were working with a finished product and finding ways for brands to kind of integrate within something that essentially was pretty much done. I think the thing for me that's been really interesting in this role is I've been able to see much further kind of in the production process. I've been able to be involved and see what all the kind of pieces that go into the creation of an original show or a movie. How can brands come in at an earlier stage? That's been the thing that's been a really interesting learning curve for me. And that's what gets me really excited, is I just feel this is a hugely kind of untapped area of potential that we should be getting into.
Yeah, amazing. So exciting. Makes me want to go and work for the Story Lab immediately. And I imagine that again, it sounds so glamorous. I imagine you've met quite a few celebrities in your line of work.
I have met a few. I've met a few. I think the most famous person I have met would be when I was at Disney. I did once meet John Travolta.
Wow.
Which is making my cultural references going from like the mid-90s to the mid-70s. But I did meet John Travolta, who was absolutely lovely at a premiere. I was very privileged to go to a lot of film premieres, and he made a point of coming out of the VIP pen at the after party and introducing himself to everyone who had worked on his movie.
Wow.
So that was very exciting.
That's hundreds of people.
It was only the ones that had actually worked on it, which at a premiere is about 5.
Okay.
So that was quite fun. That was an actual meeting. When I was at NBC, I did go to the upfronts, which are absolutely hilarious, in New York, where they basically put on all the, they show all the new shows and all the talent come on stage and introduce them. And at the end, they sort of put the talent in a back room and open the doors and kind of unleash everybody onto the talent. So it's a bit like a sort of talent safari.
Oh, my word.
And you kind of wander around having your photograph taken with them. And I did meet the cast of Suits, although, so actually, technically, I have stood next to Meghan Markle. But I have no photo evidence of this. So I could say what I like.
Yeah, we'll take your word for it. We'll take your word for it. And, we couldn't really talk about entertainment without finishing on a question around favourite shows. So what are you watching at the moment? What do you love?
I love drama. I think that's my favourite thing. So I'm so excited that the Story Lab is now getting much more into scripted drama, because that is kind of my real area of passion. I really love it. So I also love a good costume drama. I love a good period drama. So I was watching the new Vanity Fair. I've got one to go because I went on holiday and I missed the last one.
No spoilers.
But yeah, I absolutely loved that. I thought it was really fun. It was really modern. It had a really great soundtrack. It was just, it was everything you want. I recommend that very highly. Also, I do love a good, strong female character. So if it's not Becky Sharp, I did love Killing Eve. I know me and a million others.
Killing Eve was so good. It was
so
addictive.
Amazing. I loved it. I loved it. And it's really great to see like a strong female lead who actually is naughty and awful and not for any kind of terribly tragic back reason, just because she is.
She just is.
Yeah, I love it.
More alpha females in these
behaving badly.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. And I think I would say one other thing is, because I am a mum, I've got 2 little girls, and we have all watched together the new Doctor Doctor Who. And I love that. Talking about feisty females, that's been really fun. Like for them, being able to see they've kept all these elements of the original Doctor Who, but with her, she's just been brilliant. Like Jodie Whittaker is amazing. And I just love the fact that for them, that's their Doctor Who. That's who they'll always have as their kind of primary Doctor Who. And it's a feisty female. I love it.
Oh, amazing. Well, Cathy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And it's been fascinating, at least for me, to find out a little bit more about your world. So thank you for joining us. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in and for any questions you sent us previously. If you do have any other questions, feel free to leave a comment on our Facebook page, our LinkedIn page, or our Twitter page, and we'll do our best to get back to you. Our next episode, we'll be moving from entertainment to media, talking to our global media partnerships team. But for now, thank you so much, Cathy. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you soon. Have a great day.